So I'm really excited to be out here today with my good friend Timo van Geest. We are going to do a putting video, and as the title suggests, this is going to be stack and tilt putting. You asked for it, and we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
Timo is a great friend of mine. I'm excited to be here at his club today. Timo, do you want to tell everyone where we are?
Yeah, Rob, first of all, welcome to La Hacienda Golf Links. I think you've seen what a magnificent place we have over here. It's the first official Stack and Tilt Academy, as I showed you down there on the range. I'm happy to be here on the putting green with you to talk some putting. So yeah, let's go over it.
It's going to be a fun morning. I'm really looking forward to this. My putting it's the part of my game where I am the weakest and could make the biggest gains. So looking forward to seeing what this man can do. Timo and I have been friends for a long time. We've worked together in the network, the Stack and Tilt network, and I've watched Timo develop the Stack and Tilt Putting Program to a point where I would say it's extremely comprehensive, and I'm excited for him to share his thoughts on putting with me today and as an extension with you as well. Okay, Timo, tell me about Stack and Tilt Putting. What makes this different, and why is this such a good system?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say it's not different at all in the sense of that we use the same system as we use for the full swing, because I speak to a lot of players and coaches, and then when we start talking about putting, it all becomes more about feel. And then when things don't work, we might change the grip, take a thicker grip, thinner grip. We might take a longer putter, and so we start changing all these variables, as we would say, instead of teaching the student or having the ability as a coach to look at what's fundamental in putting. And the beauty of the system that we have with Stack and Tilt, with the contact, the power, and the direction, is that we can use the exact same fundamentals for putting. We need to control where the ball is starting, which will be the contact. We need to control how far we hit the putt, which will be the power or the distance control. And we should have a predictable curve, and the predictable curve on the green is done by the green reading. We have to have an expectation of where the ball is going before we hit it. So the third fundamental would be more the green reading part. And if you have those systems in place and use a grid like I have here on the ground, you start to have a system to organize your information a little bit better. So you won't be as scared when you start pushing one ball to the right. You will have information that you can use in a systematical way, in a systematical manner, to be not afraid of a miss and start doubting about everything, but you have a place to start. All right, there we are on the putting green. Let's roll a few.
Where do you start with a putting lesson? How do you assess a player?
Well, I would do it the exact same way as I would do in a full swing lesson. So I would just find a straight putt, tell the student to hit a couple of putts to the hole, and I would just call out the shots. This is a push, this is a pull. Hey, did you notice how this one ended up short? And I'm basically running these fundamentals through my head to see where we could make the biggest improvement for lesson one. So let's just roll a few as we go. We set up a straight putt, so just aim it as straight as you can. I'll be filming these shots.
Okay.
Okay, so that will be a push.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would tell you that I always feel like I struggle to aim in the first place.
Okay.
I think I have a bit of a right aim bias.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that over the years, and even now I try to fix it. And then as I hit the putt, it always feels like it's a little bit of a reaction to that.
So that's the same kind of shot.
So that felt like quite a nice strike.
Yeah.
But it just...
I mean, I can definitely see there is some flow to your stroke, like there's a nice movement. How are you on controlling the distance? I know this putt goes uphill a little bit. You left them short. Is that something that you notice more on the course as well? Could you be either short or long, or what would you say?
I could be both. I would say that the one thing that I would certainly notice is a toe strike.
Okay.
I hit the toe.
Okay.
When I mishit the putts.
Okay.
And I think that obviously that loses me some ball speed.
Yes.
And then I end up, maybe then trying to make up for it on a subsequent putt. But I rarely hit the heel.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that if you start playing, you might hit like one or two short like this one, and then you start making up for it, and might start hitting them long because you add some energy to the system, which makes it a little bit harder to control the speed? Is that where we are, more or less?
I would say that my speed control is definitely not great.
Okay.
It's definitely not a strength.
Okay.
The short to medium putts like this, I think I'm good enough not to like make a complete hash of it.
Got it.
But at the same time, I wouldn't say that I'm super good at my speed control. And then certainly when I get further from the hole, it's when the three putts can start to creep in. It's exactly the same putt. Trying to do
well, you're consistent.
I'm now I feel like I'm aiming to the left on this one.
Okay. Well, you're actually not. So I agree. You have a slight bias to aim to the right. The last one was straighter to the center of the hole.
Yeah. Okay.
And that feels to the left for you, right?
This one definitely feels to the left.
Just how you see it.
I just didn't hit it, but
okay.
As I'm set up there, it feels, yeah, I'm sort of this far left of the hole, which on a putt of this distance is significant, right?
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's start diving in. All right, so we've hit some putts.
We have.
The push is the obvious one to look at. As you say, it feels like it's an aiming problem, which I would agree with, because as soon as you started to aim straighter, it felt like you were aiming to the left. But even before we go to the aim, I want to show you the grid, how I use the grid.
Okay.
So we have a mechanical template to work from, which makes it a little bit easier to understand why these balls are going to the right. Is it only the aim? That's basically what we're trying to figure out. Or is it the aim in combination with the technique you use? So when we just jump to the grid over here, and for the people that have used the Stack and Tilt system, this should look familiar, right?
It looks almost the same.
It looks similar, yeah. So. Because even putting is still played on the tilted angle, the shaft is not straight up and down, but it's almost straight up and down, we could say, so that makes the arcs less acute. But there's still an arc for the club face, there's still an arc for your hands, which I think makes sense. I think everybody has that idea. I think we moved away in the industry from putting is straight back, straight through. There might be a couple of viewers who still might have that idea in their mind, so it's good to see this picture then.
Yeah.
But the thing that changes the most is the Sharpies that I put down there is basically the radius.
Okay.
And the problem with putting, as a golfer looking at putting and looking at the Live Golf Tour or the PGA Tour, whatever tour, like the good guys, you see so many differences, right? In how they grip the club, where they place the ball, the arm locks, and basically what they're really changing is how they set up the radius. Okay. So if I can just jump into this grid for 1 second, we already went over the arc for the club head, the arc for the hands, and then if I have to start drawing a model, one that could work, and I understand that there's like probably 1,000 ways you could roll the putt into the hole. But you have to choose one.
Yeah.
So I want to take away options from you instead of giving you more, which I think is the way forward, because otherwise you're only going to be too occupied in your mind on what to do. So I can put the club in the diagram over here. So I can put the club on the ground. I'll just do it on the outside of the grid over there. And then I would say as a starting point, I would say the leading edge where we make contact will be in the middle of my stance. So I'll take my setup over here with my feet and get it in the middle of my stance. While I see a lot of students that I have that have the ball in the middle, and that drives the putter back a little bit. So let me just put the ball in the middle of this diagram.
Yeah.
And if you place the ball in the middle, I think you will see that from the face-on view over there, is that when I now place this putter in the diagram, it's actually back on the arc a little bit. So that would start building in a push.
Yeah.
So just seeing you push those balls without going into the videos, I'm just using this model, this diagram over here on the ground, the grid, to see, okay, what makes the ball push?
Yeah.
So one of the things would be the ball more back. So I was looking at your ball position.
That makes sense. So hitting it earlier on the arc.
Yeah, hitting it early on the arc, making the ball go more to the right.
Before the path, before you reach that 0 point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And conversely, moving the ball more forward, making it go more to the left. So I've got the face there now, so I would say in the middle of this diagram, move the ball slightly more forward. You
so
set
the
yourself
back of the ball in the center as opposed to the middle of the ball.
Yes, so the face in the center.
Yeah.
Then it depends a little bit on the design of the putter, what kind of offset you have. And I think you should put the club on the ground in the way it's designed.
Yeah.
So I got a full shaft offset on this one, as you can see. So that dictates where the shaft should be in relationship to the face. So in my design, I would have the shaft pretty vertical. I got a little bit of offset, and that means that the handle is slightly forward to the face. But I also have to take into consideration that when I start pushing it more forward, then I'm starting to build in a push, the same as with your full swing. Like when we set up with a 7-iron with the ball back and I move the handle forward, that would project the address plane line to the right, which would be the exact same thing for a putt.
Yeah.
So I would be looking at your stroke if there's too much forward shaft lean, pushing the putt out to the right. And conversely, that will be with the shaft going back. The thing that I think you should take away and that the viewers should take away is that you have to draw an arc, you have to control the arc. And you have to understand there should be a logical explanation on why the balls go to the right. Is that because the arc isn't doing what it should do? Is it because I don't control the face to the arc? Or is my stroke actually looking pretty good, but I just have the ball in the wrong spot? That could be an easy explanation as well. Most of the times that's the big one. Just line up the ball in the proper place. Changes your perception on how you see the ball and how you see the line as well. But at least, although I know there's probably like 1 million versions we could build in this radius, I have a place to start now. I have a place to start analyzing a stroke.
The fact that there are infinite possibilities doesn't mean there are infinite, or you can just stand there and do it however you want. Right?
Well, I know that we both like to say if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything, right? If there's, I could build up this radius, which I sometimes refer to as the clamp, because my both wrists work as a clamp to hold the putter, and you can see the angle over here. But I could also do flying wedge putting with a little bit more flying wedge built into my right wrist. But I need to choose something, and I don't want to use one on hole number 1, and then when I start missing, use a different one on hole number 2. That's not how I want to go about putting.
That sounds all too familiar.
Yeah, we've all been there.
People typically pay a lot less attention to their putting because it looks extremely straightforward and simple.
Yeah.
Right? There's obviously less physical demands, less technical demands than a full swing.
Yeah.
And they would say that I'll figure that out because I say to my students, hitting a ball on a green and making it roll along the ground is really easy.
It is.
Like a 2-year-old goes to crazy golf and does that.
Yeah.
Right? And a 90-year-old grandmother can roll the ball along the ground. But the skill of starting the ball on line, controlling your speed and controlling the curve, that makes you a good putter. And I think that's a very difficult thing to be expert at. It takes a lot of training and a lot of skill.
It is, and most of the times, most players don't spend a lot of time on the green. And if they start spending time on the green, they don't really know on what fundamental they should focus. What is their biggest miss? Is it the contact? Is it fundamental one? Or should they just do more drills on speed control or on green reading?
Yeah.
And just having that system gives you the ability to be a little bit more clear. So we have this drawing down there on the ground. Now we should start moving the putter, right? That thing needs to move. It doesn't stay on the ground there. All right, so when we start talking about this grid that I have on the ground and start talking about moving the putter, sometimes when people see the arc, they really start making an arc. So you will, roundhousing, we sometimes refer to that. So you see people moving their shoulders a lot or moving their arms, using their shoulder motions to create an arc. But the arc is built in. So that's why I like to set up this station. I'm just going to take this radius away for now. Let's move it out of the way a little bit so I can set up in the diagram. So I would place my shaft against the red stick. And I would call this an elevated plane line. And that plane line is straight, as you can see from the down the line picture over, that's a straight line, right? But because I start moving the putter, you can see when I make my backstroke over there, that the putter starts moving in an arc, ever so slightly. So you can see how the heel of the putter face, the heel of the club head, is like 1 inch away from the red stick, and then when I move it back, it's closer to the red stick, and that will be the same for the follow through. So I think this is a great drill for people to start feeling how to create the arc, and how much arc there really is, because there isn't a lot. There isn't a lot.
You make a great point there where you talk about the concept of there being an arc, and then once people think they're supposed to make an arc, they overdo it. And the opposite of that would be, well, I feel straight back, straight through, and sometimes the feel of straight back, straight through is actually already creating that small arc.
Yeah, which is fine.
Which is fine.
And then I show people on the camera, because I said at the beginning, the camera is still our friend. It's still the number one analysis tool that we use, the same as for the full swing. And it's just important that they understand that, okay, I might have the idea that I was stroking it back straight and through, but I now see that it's actually an arc, and I'm doing a pretty good job at it.
Exactly.
All right, so here we have your pictures in this setup. So the first thing I would draw is a line from the center of the hole over the center of the ball. That would be our baseline. But I would make the point that even on that aim, you can see how that face doesn't line up at a 90-degree angle to the baseline that I was drawing. You can already see how there's a little bit of a push built in there. But we'll go with it for now. So I'll just start playing this video very slowly to see the arc, to see the amount of arc that you're making. And the first thing that I notice is that there's quite a bit of arc. You see that? So you can see how all the club face moves inside the line, but you can definitely see the arc going in. And then you can see that the arc going down is inside your backstroke arc.
Yes.
And you were talking about your toe hit. I think that's what shows up over here.
Yeah.
So let me just draw that in. So there's some arc going on the backstroke. And then the arc on the downstroke is inside the backstroke arc, which makes the sweet spot move closer to you, makes you hit it on the toe. And then coming through, you can see that this ball was a slight little push. You can see how it just starts on the right edge of that white line.
Yeah.
And then coming through, your club head stays on the target line quite long. So you have an arc going on in the backstroke, and then you push it back on line, basically. Let's go to the face-on view as well. Face-on clip over here, because what I like to do, remove all those lines, get one picture in the setup. So just before you start moving. get one picture at impact. There we go. This one, and then do the overlay. So then we can go back between.
Wow.
Setup and impact. So
wow, that's frightening.
So you can see that. You can see how that changes.
How much I'm trying to save that face.
So you can see how the setup. If you look at the face now, you can see how that aims a little bit to the right, even from the face-on perspective, right? That's that 2 degree or 1.5 degree aim that you build into the right. And then you can see the rise of the putter going into him, but you can see how the putter is off the ground now, which it should be.
Yeah.
But you can definitely see how that face changed, right? So even you're not really starting it on your aim either. So there's something in you as a player that knows that thing is going to the right if you just keep going where you were aiming that thing.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to see the P1, P7 spectrum from setup to impact over there.
That's quite frightening.
Yeah. So we're back to the grid. We just went over what your stroke looks like when we draw on the grid. And I want to focus with you on the backstroke arc, because I think you make a little bit too much arc going in, hence the push. So we have to look in the motions that make that arc. And just to guide you on that, I want you to stand in this grid over here, put the shaft against the red stick, so you can have a feel for what that feels like, what that looks like. And then when we would look at the down the line picture, so just go back and forth a couple of times just to grind that into the system. That should feel like less arc. It should show up for your view as less arc as well. And especially when we look at the down the line picture where we have the camera, that would show up as way less arc, way less to the right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it feels much more linear.
Yes. And now if you just step forward like 1 centimeter, so you're just away from the red thing, try to make that same. You still have your guidance on the ground over here. All right, so there we go. Let's make some practice strokes. Feel that ab and adduction of the trail shoulder instead of the external rotation. So that feels straighter back, right?
Yeah, so my feels are very much handle more back.
Yes.
Zach Johnson is a picture I've got, or a feel I've got with where he sets up with the...
Yes, 100%.
When I close my right eye and just look down the shaft there, I can see what you're asking to get this thing lined up.
Okay.
Ball feels a little further forward, hands feel a little further back. So that's quite obviously unusual just to begin with.
Yeah, it looks different. Abduction, good.
Well, it didn't go to the right.
Okay, no it didn't. Okay.
Oh, we hit the hole.
Okay. Okay, nice one. All right, so there we go, draw a baseline again, center of the hole, center of the ball. That face looks different to me. Not as much open. So just from there, let's have a look at the arc. It's definitely less arc going back.
Less arc.
Which is nice.
Yeah,
which
is nice.
Then coming down into that one. Still, if anything, a little toe bias on that impact.
It's crazy how vertical that shaft looks.
It is, isn't it?
Compared to how it feels.
And then the most important frame is probably this one.
No forward press.
No forward press. No forward press. That's nice. We're gonna roll a few more. We just saw where you are now. Looks good. That setup definitely looks different. Hey, it's definitely different.
It's different.
That was a better stroke. That was a nice one.
Shut the face, but yeah, it's a really interesting feel, which is definitely different from what I'm...
So on the last one, why did it go left? What's the logical explanation there?
Based on some of the videos, what we've seen, I would say that there was
overtaking. I would say so as well.
The overtaking.
Yeah. Feel that the wrist wedges feel the same on your finish as they're built into the setup. Yeah, that looks nice.
That's actually quite a nice feel right there.
Yeah, that looks nice. There we go. There we go. It's a beauty.
Getting a sense of what's really going on, things that I've always believed and thought I need to feel. There's a few complete opposites in there, like...
There is.
It feels to me like the feel is very much of almost like the radius getting wider.
Yeah.
A putter going away from me. As opposed to, in my mind, trying to keep everything the same.
Yes.
So the backswing feels like, it's like this.
Yes.
That's how it feels. Wide and long and straight.
Yeah.
And then the second part of that, if I have time to remember or feel it, is the keeping the wrists as as stable as possible.
So you could build a little drill if you take your setup over there, because that one will also help you with your balance on your feet, because you saw how you went when you started your stroke, how you went into your heels a little bit more, how your head went back. So if you set up to the ball, we can obviously make a little putter gate, which will help you with that.
Yeah.
And then we could add another tee. I'm just going to take this one and put it like a ball to the right, just to prevent you from arcing in too quickly.
Okay.
On the backstroke.
That one felt pretty good.
Nice stroke.
Yeah.
Different sound because you're hitting that one more from the center of the face.
I can feel that, yeah.
Yeah.
That felt like a lot of arc.
Yeah, it was a lot of arc.
That felt like the best one.
Okay. Well, it sounds like the best one over there at the hole as well. All right, here are the down the line pictures. On the left, the first one that I filmed. On the right, the last one.
Okay.
I'm drawing the baseline again. I think just going from the setup, just the explanation, seeing the grid, which you always saw a little bit, I think, but maybe a little bit more detailed as we went over it. The orientation of the face to me looks different in both shots.
Yeah.
You can definitely see the push on the left picture. It looks straighter on the right one. And then we made the point on the before, how you would arc in too much. It's quite a bit of arc over there going on.
Yeah.
And then every now and then you still do a little bit too much arc. So let me just go back a little bit, because that's your practice.
Yeah.
That looks nice. Less arc.
Yeah.
And this is the real one. Still a little bit too much arc. Less than on the left though.
Agreed.
Yes. So we're taking some of that push out. But that's just keep doing this same drill until you dial it in for yourself what the right amount is.
Yeah.
So less push built into the through the backstroke on the picture on the right. When you hit this one, I showed you how you went down the line longer, how you pushed that ball straight to the right of that white line.
Yeah.
Here you can see a little bit more arc coming through. You see that? Ball starting straighter.
Yeah.
So that's good progress.
Yeah, I like it.
With the putter gate that we have over there, that helps you a little bit with your balance to hit it more from the center. So this one is struck from the center, while this one, if you go back, is a little bit more on the toe, as you can see.
Absolutely, that was a big problem.
Well, it was a big problem, and that's speed control.
Yeah.
So there's two things in my mind that's going to make it easier for you to control the speed. One, actually hitting it from the center. So all the energy that is into the angular momentum into the arc is now delivered into the center of the ball. So you got the most energy transfer.
Sure.
But also the motion of the shoulders. I think it's easier to control the speed when you use the shoulder motion, because that's how we toss a ball like this. We don't use the tilt as much to throw the ball. It would be very, very difficult to control the distance when we do that. So if you activate the shoulder motion a little bit more on the up and the adduction, gives a little bit more feel for how much speed we need to generate.
And ultimately that's what you walk away with, right? I walk away with those new feels that I have to keep making sure I'm doing by checking on the camera, because that feel is so subtle, as you say.
Yeah.
The detail in putting, the degrees are so small.
It's super small, and we had a little bit of an education at the beginning. We did one lesson of maybe half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, but this is where it really starts. This is where your practice is going to tie in with that education that we had at the beginning, and that's where the magic happens.
That was really, really informative, and I'm motivated to stand here and spend a bit of time on my putting.
The sun helps.
This is lovely. It's a beautiful location. Timo, thank you.
Good stuff.
If anyone wants to find out more about Stack and Tilt putting and Timo in particular.
Yeah, well, I'm based here at La Hacienda. We do a lot of Stack and Tilt putting during our events with Stack and Tilt. So we run camps in the States and in Europe where we do a lot of putting. It's all built in there. I've got some online options as well. So just go to the website of stackandtilt.com and you will find that as well. And ask your local Stack and Tilt instructor as well to do some putting with you.
And I'll put all those links down in the description. One final time, thank you, man.
It was a pleasure.
I'm off to practice my putting.
Good.